This is Dr. J Mack, and today we're reacting to Americans guessing the cost of British healthcare.
This U.S. country, it's nothing but a strip club. It's nothing but hustle.
Did she just call me a sweaty stripper?
We can have all this. We should be able to have good health care.
Universal
Agree.
health care should be, something we all should strive for. We nickel and dime each other here, and people don't realize.
It might not
All
look
day,
like
every
it,
day.
but we're in Dallas, Texas. In terms of healthcare,
Oh my God, this is my
city
backyard.
is the least insured in America. Around a quarter of people don't have any cover at all.
I know this
We're
firsthand.
gonna
I worked
talk
in a
to
county
regular
hospital in
Texans
Dallas.
about the NHS and the cost of their medical bills. What's an average medical bill for a regular Texan? How much might that person be paying for their premium and their regular bill?
Let's say you break your arm. Regularly in the rest of the world, that's a couple $100s. Here in Texas, easily $2,000, $3,000.
Easily.
Could I ask you then to guess how much it might cost in the UK if you broke your arm? That situation, how much do you think someone has to pay in order to have that fixed?
$200.
It's totally free.
Totally free. Wow.
I can tell you, I've got a busted shoulder, and I can tell you exactly how much it cost.
Do you mind?
Yeah, sure. It was $5,000 just to have a doctor look at my
believe
broken
that.
collarbone.
And then they're not going to do anything about a
Look
broken
at my
collarbone.
broken collarbone.
You had to pay that on arrival.
Yeah, typically you just put that in a
No,
sling
my
and that's
insurance
that.
covered the majority of it, but my portion of it was about just shy of $3.
Wow.
So
Presumably
Yeah,
ongoing
and then the
physiotherapy,
insurance company
things
makes
like
this
that.
guy pay
that
for all
part's
of it.
pretty
It's
much
like,
covered
oh,
by insurance,
good.
but I have
You have
really-
good health insurance coverage. That's awesome. But you still have to pay $3,000 out of the $5,000 bill. What the hell? How is that legal? What are we paying health insurance for? What are we paying health insurance for?
Sometimes our jobs provide, but sometimes they don't.
What's the case for you? Do you have insurance?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't.
So if something happens to you, you need healthcare.
We have to pay.
So here's one of the issues in America. Right now, it is so expensive for the businesses to provide insurance for their employees. The health insurance is just so flippin' expensive that the businesses have realized that they can improve their bottom line by cutting out the expense of health insurance. Well, it's illegal to do that, right? Unless you pay everybody like an independent contractor. So they're not an employee, they're an independent contractor. So you don't have to pay for their health insurance. And obviously, this is a big problem because then the person that's making minimum wage, maybe above that, even if you're making $200 an hour, it is still absurdly difficult to afford, one, health insurance, and two, medical care in the US. Because one of the reasons why insurance used to be affordable is they would link in all of these people together, some with very high risk for kind of medical issues and medical complications, and some people with very low risk for any sort of medical issues. And when they all pay a certain amount, the people who don't end up going to the hospital a lot end up pooling in with the people who do go to the hospital a lot. And that helps to offset the costs of those people who have a lot of kind of medical issues. But when all of these people are totally on their own, the problem is that when you go into the health insurance marketplace as, a risk pool of one person, there's nobody else to help offset your cost of healthcare. And so it's absurdly expensive for anybody to get insurance when they're completely on their own. So the employers don't want to pay for it because it's extremely expensive. But the problem is then you're just leaving each individual, what should be employee, on their own in their risk pool of one. So, yay, America!
Full price.
Right.
Yeah,
And that can be very expensive.
it can be very expensive.
Would you like insurance? Would you like to have that healthcare?
I would like to have one, but sometimes we can afford it.
Right now, I'm about to go to Mexico. Tomorrow, I'm going to travel for 2 weeks because I'm going to have some dental done.
This is
some
classic.
dental work done.
Okay.
Only because here in the States, it will cost me like $10,000.
$10,000 for the dental work here in the US. Do you mind me asking how much it's going to cost you in Mexico?
About $1,000.
Wow, so 10%.
Yes,
And the quality of care as good?
as good or even better.
Wow.
Going
Even
to
better,
see the doctor
that's
is a couple
questionable.
$100 if you don't have insurance,
Right.
just to get a checkup.
It's very obvious to someone like me. First time in this city.
Yes.
It's clear there's a lot of money here. Big buildings, offices, nice cars. It seems like there is the money to be able to create this kind of system.
Right.
So why do you think there isn't? that level of healthcare?
I believe there is.
Okay,
That's
cool.
the catch. I
Okay.
think that's the risk, but they just haven't allocated that money where for the people.
Well, now hang on. That's not true. A public health system actually exists already. Not a lot of people are aware of it, and that's one of the problems with the system is that when you have it in place, but nobody's aware of it, nobody's going to use it. If you're below a certain income threshold, you qualify for these county hospitals, these safety net hospitals. I know all about it because I worked in it for a long time. That's usually where you train in medical school and in residency at these county programs. So I worked in a big county program there in Dallas, actually. And the sad thing is because people don't realize that these safety net hospitals exist for them. That is, the middle class is still kind of screwed. The middle class is left out, right? But the lower socioeconomic bracket of people can access these hospitals for very low cost, if not no cost in certain situations. You have to be able to navigate all the red tape, of which there is a ton. But the issue is when you don't know that that's available, you don't seek it out until you're really sick. That's the issue. One of many issues with American healthcare is that people are so scared to go to the doctor because they know that one medical bill could bankrupt them, right? And so even people who have access to extremely cheap, if not free medical care, they wait until their issues are totally out of control. I've seen people with masses on their forehead that are, the size of grapefruits, just these huge skin cancers. Technically, it was a squamous cell carcinoma. No, it was basal cell. I forget which one. Massive cancerous lesion on their forehead. And they only came to the hospital when the cancer started eating into certain blood vessels and it was squirting. So he waited until his forehead was squirting everywhere before he finally got care. And at that point, to be able to excise that or surgically remove that, you're doing a lot of damage. You have to go much wider and much deeper inside the body to try to get all of the cancer. And so we saw that issue time and time again. I saw huge tumors on people's backs or in their abdomens because they've been ignoring it forever because they're scared to go to the doctors because they know that their health insurance bill, well, they don't have health insurance. And so the bill from the hospital is going to be absurdly high. And even if you do have health insurance, the health insurance ends up putting off as much of that cost onto the actual client itself, which is completely mind-blowing to me that that's even legal because that's why health insurance exists. Health insurance exists to help pay for those medical bills. But then they're like, oh no, but you have to pay for 80% of it until you get to X, percent of your total, bottom line for the year. And all they do all of this absurd, complicated math to be able to confuse you into thinking that you aren't owed what you're actually owed. But at the end of the day, we either should have health insurance that pays for stuff or we shouldn't have health insurance at all. Yay, American healthcare.
Now, of all this, we should be able to have good health care for all.
There's two versions really being offered here, isn't there? Trump is offering something quite different to Joe Biden in terms of health insurance.
Oh, I should say, by the way, when I was
do you have
talking
a
about those
preference?
hospitals earlier, it's basically socialized healthcare. We already have that. That's what those hospitals are. The cities pay for that. So we have it. We have it already. We just potentially need a lot more of it.
Do you think there's one that's better than the other, or do you think the system at the moment?
I don't think there's none differences. It's all business. So pretty much as far as I have learned, which I'm 34 years old, this U.S. country is nothing but a strip club.
Okay, sure.
Sure, it's nothing but hustle. So that's what they're doing out there. They're just hustling. They really don't care.
You think it's the healthcare companies?
Wait, I'm just trying to visualize the healthcare company CEOs on stage, twirling around the pole, just trying to get cash from everybody, all the Americans. They're sitting up against the stage. Who else is up there? So definitely the health insurance CEOs, big pharma's up there as well. Just shimmying, give me that cash. And then of course it's the Americans who are forced who are forced to make it rain dollars all over these people. That's a really hilarious way to think about it. I don't know if there's a really exact connection there, but it's a good visual.
I think we all should strive for.
I'd like to see some healthcare changes. We need massive overhaul. It's not just about universal or anything else. It's insanely expensive regardless.
The music's great.
Start there.
Do you think that there's
I'm
much
so
political
ADD.
will in this city for that to happen? Do you think broadly people want that to be the case?
In the city, yes. In the urban areas, yes. Suburban areas, they're typically more conservative, and they're not really sure exactly what all that entails, and so they're not.
People are afraid to
My
change.
understanding is that people are generally sort of opposed to taxation here.
Yeah, but it's more. You start screaming about socialism more than
Yeah.
anything. So that's really what they're going to do.
Rather than perhaps engaging with it as an idea.
Exactly. Rather than actually thinking about it logically.
We can afford it as a country to take care of each other. And these nickel and dimings of these procedures that are costing thousands of dollars just aren't that expensive everywhere else in the world.
I think that last guy actually had a really good point. Everybody is very afraid of socialism, as if there is this light switch of capitalism, that if you are, capitalist, then you have to be 100% capitalist. And that if you do anything that is considered socialized, that light switch turns off and there's no more profit to drive better products and potentially drive better healthcare, because there is a certain element of, ingenuity that does take place in the US that doesn't take place anywhere else. And nobody would argue with that. The amount of innovation that comes out of the US is so far unsurpassed. I mean, China's getting close, right? But the US is unsurpassed in terms of innovation. And a lot of that is capitalism that's driving that, But again, does it have to be an on-off switch? The minute that we do one thing that's considered socialized, does that mean that we'll never have good products ever again? We'll never come up with, new healthcare devices or pharmaceutical drugs or interventions that can significantly impact people's lives? And the answer is no, it's not an on-off switch. There is, like everything else in life, there's a gray area. And I mean, if we don't toy with the idea of a gray area, at some point, it's going to be bad. There's going to be some sort of revolution, right? Because we're already starting to get to a boiling point right now. Right now, we're getting to a boiling point. Imagine what it's going to be like in 10 years if we keep ignoring this. Imagine what it's going to be like in 20 years. I can barely afford healthcare right now, and I'm a flippin' doctor. Imagine 20 years from now what it's going to be like. It's not going to be more affordable. It's going to be worse. There are going to be more middlemen. It's this big money grab, and everybody is losing except, it's this big money grab, and everybody is getting those dollar bills on the stripper pole except the U.S. citizens, the U.S. public. We're the ones just making it rain all day, every day, and there's going to be nothing left in our pockets. The stripper pole analogy works. That woman is a genius.
We nickel and dime each other here, and people don't realize what universal health care means. Yeah, you'll pay a little bit more in taxes, but you're saving thousands at the doctors. And people really need to be educated on that, and they just don't want to be.
All right. That was it. I don't have any more final thoughts. I kind of let it all out in there. Just that visual. I still have that visual of like Big Pharma. Give me that money. Give me that money. Half naked. What do I have to do? Closing thoughts. I am not a socialist. I don't want anybody to pin me as a communist, but there is a gray area there. There is a gray area that we need to explore before it's too late. If you're truly afraid of socialism, we need to start exploring some gray area in healthcare, because there will be some sort of revolution. And that switch that we were talking about, that switch may be forced to the opposition. Bernie Sanders, 2028. I'm just kidding. No, not Bernie. All right, this is Dr. J Mac commenting on the absurdity of U.S. healthcare once again. If you want to watch me reacting to UK citizens reacting to US healthcare prices, that's an awesome video as well. So subscribe. Wah!